and gentlemen, welcome to another exciting episode of the Paul Brown Show. We're shooting live at 2 Expose You Studio. We have Mr. Darrell Goodman, he's the founder, Mr. Ray Harvey, chief engineer. Business owners, if you want to get in there and promote your business, come on, talk to Darrell at this 2 Expose You so he can help you out your business. Today I have my special guest, Dr. Michael Addison. He's running for 6th Congressional South Carolina District. And we also have Mr. Christopher Vaughn. How y'all gentlemen doing today?
All right.
Doing pretty good, man. Thanks for having us.
All right. I know everybody knows about Dr. Addison. Let's tell the audience about you, Mr. Vaughn.
Well, I am Chris Vaughn from Beaumont, Texas, and here assisting my good friend, Dr. Addison, in the campaign, is working as one of the managers on the campaign and looking to do great things here in South Carolina. I am a native of Columbia, actually. My dad was in the military and moved away, and we ended up resting and residing in Texas since then. So it's good to be back in my native land, helping the people here, and looking forward to doing great things.
Okay, Dr. Addison, you want to tell the audience?
I'm Michael Addison, candidate for U.S. Congress, Congressional District 6. I always have a good time when I get down here to Charleston, which is part of my voting district. We are excited about this opportunity to represent you in this capacity. As you guys know, the election is not until June of next year in 2022, but we want to get started early. We want people to know who we are. We want to find out what's going on in your communities. There are a lot of different things that we're doing throughout the district, and we'd like for you to be in tune with that, but we're just running a grassroots campaign. We want people to get to know us, and we want to get to know you. And we want you to tell us what it is that you need. Everybody's conditions are different.
Correct.
The conditions that I have in my community might be slightly different from those down in Beaufort, over in Florence, in Columbia, all the way to Jasper and Sumter. This is a large district. It covers 16 counties. And we are traversing all of the counties. We want to get out and meet all of the mayors, all of the county council men and women. And we want to meet the constituents. We have 6 HBCUs in this district. We want to get with those student bodies and help them with their scholarships, help them with student loan, because I believe these children should be able to go to school for free. And we're really going to push that agenda to assist them with as much support as we can, even though they may not get to go to school for free. We also want to focus on health care. As you know, we're in the middle of a pandemic. We've watched people die, our loved ones, our friends and family members from this coronavirus. We've been on the front line fighting the coronavirus. Chris has been one of those volunteers that came up from Texas to help us out in the community because he saw the need as well. And so what we're doing is pooling our resources, and we all have our own companies, so we're able to pool our personal resources to get things done. And that's what we're focusing on, Paul.
Great, great. I know the topic we want to talk about today is public adjusting. Tell the audience a little bit about that and why we selected this topic.
Well, we selected this topic because as I travel the district, I see a lot of people have mold and mildew in their homes. A lot of people have roof damages. And oftentimes, if you have insurance, these damages are covered by your insurance. But most people don't know how to represent the damages properly to the insurance carrier to get those damages covered. If you have a mortgage, 10 out of 10 chances you have an insurance policy on your home, whether it's a forced policy that the bank has or one that you have through one of the carriers like a Nationwide, State Farm, Liberty Mutual, and the list, Travelers, the list goes on and on. What we do as public adjusters, we represent you to your insurance carrier. Now, my background is medicine. But I lost my practice in 2008 to a tornado. And the tornado was so devastating that it allegedly twisted my building. And I was told I could not go back in to practice, see patients or anything. And I had to wait for the engineer to come out and do an inspection before we could go back in to determine if the building was safe. Well, my insurance carrier, they didn't send the engineer out till 11 months later. So here I lost that whole business. Because I was in a rural community of Allendale, and we were one of 3 doctors in probably the whole county. And so we lost that business. So the tornado was devastating, but the lack of progress from the insurance company was even more devastating to the bottom line. And I had a practice in Orangeburg, and a few months later, I came into the office, and it had an awful smell to it. And the DHEC officials said you could not see patients in there because it's infested with mold. So here's my second practice I got to close as well. We got to move 40,000 pounds of equipment into storage. So when you go through these national disasters, and earlier we witnessed Mr. Darrell talking about the SBA with disaster loans and things of that nature. We just used what we had to move it forward. And so in the process of seeking help, this is considered a first-party claim whenever you go to your insurance company to get them to help you. And so as a public adjuster, we're able to represent you, just like an attorney would, to your insurance carrier to make sure they understand the damages that you have and how the policy covers those damages and the amount of money they should be paying you. Now, the insurance company has adjusters as well, but those adjusters work for the insurance company. The state of South Carolina Department of Insurance licensed us as public adjusters to work for the public.
Right.
Okay, so I mean, because I know a lot of times we depend on that insurance company to send someone out to check our damages. So you're saying that we should go and get someone separately in order to handle this claim?
If I may, yes, absolutely. Because when you have a public adjuster at your disposal, what they're able to do is actually help move the claim a little bit further and a little bit faster than what you would be able to do on your own, unless you are well versed in the insurance terminology, the little turns and pitfalls and things of that nature that may arise when trying to handle a claim, that just the average homeowner just does not have that knowledge, and it works to their disadvantage most of the times. That's why it's very key to have some type of representation, such as a public adjuster, to help represent you in that process.
Okay, do y'all handle auto accidents as well?
In South Carolina, if it's a first-party accident in an auto, let's say a person is driving and they hit a tree, then their insurance company is going to be responsible for the damages and taking care of them, so we can represent them in that first-party claim. If it's a third-party claim, let's say they were driving and someone hit them from behind, then they would have to seek the help from an attorney for that liability issue. And we don't do those particular claims.
Okay, all right. So, how closely do y'all work with attorneys?
Well, in my firm, Chris Vaughn Public Adjusting Services, I actually have attorneys that I work with in the various cities that I do most of my work in Texas, and we work very closely with them. Sometimes you can work with them as a technical expert. When the claim has to go to litigation, you can be on their staff to do certain things in that way. You can also lend services as an appraiser to some of the that's another policy provision. There you go. That allows the homeowner to take the claim to the next step. You can be an appraiser for that attorney in that particular process. So attorneys and public adjusters should have really good working relationships. Attorneys do not do claims, so it's good. They usually hire us to handle the technical portion of the claim. So
and if we look at the historical aspect of public adjusting, and I think it was 1888, public adjusting started in Pennsylvania, and it was done by accountants because it's quite a bit of accounting that you have to do. But they were not builders, so they didn't know what the square footage of buildings, how much shingles you needed. So contractors got involved, and the state started licensing people to become public adjusters. But it was March of 2000 in South Carolina that public adjusting became a licensed entity, because prior to that, it was considered the unauthorized practice of law. And so there was a lawsuit that ensued, and the courts ruled, in particular Justice Jean Toll, she ruled that, hey, public adjusting is something we need. We need to have a balance, because the insurance company writes the policy, and then they come out and assess the damages and give you what they think you should have. And oftentimes they are right if you're willing to take that. But the public adjuster comes out and we do a comprehensive analysis of the damages to determine exactly the etiology, the cause of those damages, and the extent of those damages, and the dollar figure, a unit-based pricing on what it would take to repair those damages. And oftentimes, our estimates are 300 to 500 times more than theirs.
That's correct.
Almost every time. And I don't want to say they're lowballing people, but what it is, they're doing what's best for the bottom line of the insurance company. And that's their job. And our job is to come and do what's best for the bottom line of the insured, those who are filing the claim.
That's right.
And so oftentimes we get to an impasse with the adjusters for the insurance company, and then we have to bring in the legal counsel after we go through the appraisal process that Chris was referencing. And what the appraisal process is, it's a policy provision in the policy of the insurance contract. And if you and the insurance company disagree on the cost of the repairs, you can send it to a third-party tribunal, which you hire an appraiser, they hire an appraiser, and then those two select an umpire. And then the three of them determine the actual cost of the damages. And it's binding.
Okay. Okay, Mr. Vaughn, you said you have a business.
Yes.
Okay, what made you want to start this public adjusting business?
Well, I got into adjusting originally doing first notice of loss phone calls with State Farm in Dallas.
Okay.
And during that particular period in life, I was transitioning and ended up coming back home to Beaumont. And in that transition, came upon some information about becoming an adjuster, an independent adjuster. So I did the research and became an independent adjuster, and did not have any direction on what to do. So I began researching and finding more things that I could be doing with that particular license. And so I started doing cars, what we call scoping cars, doing assessments, damage assessments on vehicles and working with a particular company to that. In that process, I ran into a family friend of mine that was a public adjuster. And so we started talking about the business, and he started saying things like, oh, you're in the dark. Oh, I'm in the light. And that's adjuster talk, meaning one works for the insurance company, one works for the homeowner, darkness and light. And so anyway, so we get into this conversation. I say, well, man, I don't know what you're talking about. You say, well, if you want to really help people, you need to become a public adjuster. And so that really resonated with me. My family is extensive in ministry. So that was real big for me because I saw an opportunity that I could work in my community in my state and help my friends and loved ones in insurance claims. Because where I'm from, we have multiple hurricanes. We have multiple weather issues. And it's not just weather issues. A big statistic that most don't know is that half of people that's even watching right now have $10,000 to $15,000 worth of damage in their home right now as we speak, and they don't know it. And when that statistic was brought to me, I said, wow, that I could do a 15-minute assessment and find that damage for them. And that's money in their pocket to get that damage repaired. And so when I thought about it and how useful that could be in my community, I said, I have to be a public adjuster. And so I did the necessary work to do that and started my business back in 2016. And I've never looked back, never had an issue with it. And I'll be honest, it's all about helping people. And that's my drive is to help people. It's not the money. People kind of look at the money thing or whatever. You're going to do that. But my philosophy is I'm helping a lot of people. And when I can help a lot of people, the money will come.
Dr. Addison, what made you want to get into that public adjusting?
I didn't want nothing to do with it. I didn't want to be a public adjuster. I was doing chiropractic. I was satisfied, but I lost my shirt. I lost everything. You know, when you lose everything and you have to go to your mama to borrow gas money and drive your Hummer, you know, it's embarrassing. And I couldn't understand. I've never filed a claim. I always pay my insurance. And I get hit by a tornado, and they refuse to settle the claim. So we pushed the claim forward. I had to go to Philadelphia to get training. I was the first black public adjuster licensed in the state of South Carolina. And currently, we're probably the only black firm that's in the state of South Carolina. And we don't advertise much because it's a word of mouth thing. because the insurance companies are large and in charge. They control every aspect of our lives. But what we want to do, sometimes there are people out there, like didn't have anybody to turn to. So I went to Pennsylvania, and there was a company up there called Metro Public Adjusting, and they started training me. And I stayed up there for a couple of weeks to learn the business, and I came back here to work for Metro to help assist them, assisting people like me. But they decided they did not want to do a business in South Carolina. And so I was sitting one day, and it's a true story, and I was just praying and asking God, show me a sign, give me some guidance on this. And so I was reading in this book of Exodus, and there's this brother in the book called Aaron. And so Aaron was the mouthpiece of the people for Moses. And so I was like, everybody, well, name your business Addison Public Adjusting. I'm like, no, it's not about me. It's about what we could do, like Chris said, for the community. So we named the company Aaron's Public Adjustment, the mouthpiece for the people, insurance claim services. And we found we have to turn down some of the work because there's so many people that are disadvantaged. Insurance company come out and they say the claim denied. We come out and show them how the claim is covered, and they normally would pay the claim. Since COVID, we've been getting a lot of pushback because now we have to do it virtually because a lot of them don't want to come into the people's homes. And, I do COVID testing. And so I make sure people get tested, even when I come to their homes, if they want to be tested. And so I got into it when I lost my practices and the insurance companies was denying my claims. And I went to attorneys, and attorneys said, well, we don't normally do first party claims. You're going to have to find someone else. I went through 14 different law firms before I found one that filed a lawsuit to preserve my rights under the policy, because in South Carolina, you have a 3-year statute of limitation. Sometimes the policy says 2 years, but the lawyers tell me that it's 3 years. And so we work closely with the lawyers because we have them, when we get to a certain point, and we've exhausted all the remedies within the policy, then we turn it over to the attorneys and ask them to go ahead and take it forward and protect our interest in the claim and file a suit on behalf of the client. And most of the time, it really works out well for the client because the courts have ruled if there's any ambiguity in the policy or the situation, it should be construed in the favor of the claimant. And so most people don't know. And so when people have damages to their homes, a lot of people call the insurance company and they say certain things and they use certain words. And the words that you're using on a regular basis are words that will get your claim denied. People call and say, oh, my house is flooded. Well, your policy, homeowner policy, doesn't cover flood.
Right.
And so we have to use the right phraseology to get your claim handled. And that's because we read policies. It's boring, but this is what we do. We study them. We break them down to make sure people are being represented properly to their insurance company. It's like when you file your taxes. You don't get the IRS to prepare your taxes. You go get a CPA, an accountant, or a bookkeeper, or a tax preparer, someone who's going to advocate for you. And that's what public adjusters do. We advocate for the claimant to make sure that they are properly represented to their carrier.
That's right.
I know you mentioned about promoting publicity for public adjusting. Now, how come we don't hear that much about public adjusting in today's society when it seems like it's very important to us as citizens?
Yeah. In my mind, I would like to think that the insurance companies a lot of times have your best interest at heart, but sometimes it does not seem that way. I think that's the best way to put that. Does not seem like they do. And because it does not seem like they do, they're of course not going to tell you the tools that are afforded to you that you can use to do well in a claim. Because now you're talking about you're talking about money. You're talking about their bottom line.
Their shareholders.
Shareholders. Okay, we're gonna put it out there. Okay, shareholders. You're talking about their bottom line.
And he was saying also about people not knowing. We never advertise. This is actually in 11 years I've been doing this. The first interview that I've ever done on public adjusting.
Mine too. And people ask me for cards. I don't have cards because now they say, well, why don't you have cards? You've been in business for so long. I say, well, when you find out what I can do for you, I don't need cards. I'll be on speed dial. And I say that and everyone laughs, but when they're showing up with a denied claim or a claim that has not been paid out to their satisfaction, like $500, and I get it, and then I'm showing up with a check for $20,000. Well, I don't need a card for that, because what you're going to say is, oh, Chris came by my house today. You remember that claim I told you about? No, the insurance only gave me $500. Well, this boy came by here with $20,000 in my hand. Okay. You follow?
And it's not uncommon. One of my first claims I did, the insurance company offered a homeowner $220,000, and we ended up getting them $1 million. But because that's what the policy said, and that's what was covered. Right. We do this over and over and over again. It never fails. If you have a covered loss, you have damages, and you've paid your premiums, and your contract is intact and active, and we're going to present that to the insurance company, 9 out of 10, they're going to follow their contract, and they're going to pay you for those damages.
Okay, so you say Aaron Public Adjusting.
Yes.
Okay, if someone wanted to get more information about Aaron Public Adjusting, how would they go about doing that?
We have aaronspa.biz, which is the website. And if they just Google Aaron's Public Adjustment, you're going to find us. Like I said, we've been around over 10 years doing public adjusting. And it's a quiet business, but it's very effective. And people are very appreciative of the fact that we can help them in that capacity. Because remember, your homes are usually your largest investment. And the last thing you want to do is lose your home because of damages that should be covered by your policy. But I thank you guys, as always, Paul, for this opportunity to come out and talk to the community about the things that we can do. And we're going to be doing a lot more in Congressional District 6. We met with a gentleman today who's the executive director over the South Carolina Wind Association, and they write policies for the low country area and those near the water. And we're going to work with them as well. Also, there's some grant money that he mentioned to me earlier, and we're going to get that information out to people as well.
Right. So thank you, Dr. Addison, Mr. Vaughn, for coming on the show, and look forward to hearing more about public adjusting. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for watching the show, and you be encouraged.